So Joe Biden has finally done it, y'all. He has finally done it. Biden accuses oil companies of war profiteering and threatens windfall tax. A week out from U.S. midterm elections, President pleads with energy firms to invest profits in lowering costs for American consumers. All right, so let me break this down here for you. This is the first time I've seen that beautiful, glorious two words in front of me, windfall tax. And I've been arguing for a while now because people have asked me, hey, how do you combat inflation? Like, what do you actually do? Because the Republicans are winning the battle on inflation. All the polls show that, but they're not even making an argument. They're just saying, hey, Democrats are in power, inflation is high, therefore vote for us and we'll make it better. There is no, like, here's how we're going to do that. Here's our policy. And so people have asked me, like, what do you actually say and do to deal with the current inflation? Well, there's two main things leading to the inflation. Number one, it's the supply chain woes as a direct result of the pandemic. And number two, it is corporate price gouging. In fact, anywhere from 54% to 60% of inflation is just corporate price gouging. They take the hysteria and the mania around inflation, and they use that to jack up prices across the board, even by things that are not impacted from inflation. So this is effectively price gouging. And Biden has been going around wagging his finger, talking about this issue. He has been leaning more into the economy recently than he was previously. Before, it was all about abortion. Now he has been talking about the economy. But it's all been this, like, finger wagging, like, you guys better stop it. This is the first time I've actually seen a windfall tax floated, even though, admittedly, you're about to see it's sort of like a soft floating of it. So let's see what they have to say. President Joe Biden has accused oil companies of war profiteering as he raised the possibility of imposing a windfall tax if companies don't boost domestic production. All right, so let's pause here for a second. The idea of, like, hey, it's on the supply side that there's a problem, like you have to boost domestic production, that's not necessarily true. That's not true. They're just price gouging. In remarks on Monday, just over a week away from the November 8th midterm elections, Biden criticized major oil companies for making record profits while refusing to help lower prices at the pump for the American people. The president said he would look to Congress to levy tax penalties on oil companies if they don't begin to invest some of their profits in lowering costs for American consumers. All right, so let me save you some time here, Joey boy. This shit is not going to happen. They're not going to... Joe Biden gave a stern speech the other day when he wasn't zonked out on Xanax and looking like a half-dead zombie. And he told us we better get our act together. And you know what? The president is right. That shit's not going to happen. You have to make them do it. How do I have to say this? This is the most obvious thing in the world. Quote, my team will work with Congress to look at these options that are available to us and others, Biden said. It's time for these companies to stop war profiteering, meet their responsibilities in this country, and give the American people a break and still do very well. Over the last 2 quarters, Exxon Mobil, Chevron, Shell, BP, ConocoPhillips, and Total Energy earned over $100 billion more than they earned all of last year. And more than 2.5 times what they earned in the same quarters of 2021. God damn. The president took particular aim at Exxon Mobil, which last week reported earnings of $19.7 billion in the third quarter alone. He said the company used its record profits to provide shareholders with hefty dividends and stock buybacks, but failed to invest in production improvements that would benefit consumers at the pump. Quote, oil companies' record profits today are not because of doing something new or innovative, Biden said. Their profits are a windfall of war, a windfall for the brutal conflict that's ravaging Ukraine and hurting tens of millions of people around the globe. High prices at the pump have exacerbated inflation and have taken a toll on Biden and Democrats' standing among voters. Listen to this. In July, petrol prices rose to an average of $4.80 for a gallon of regular. They've since fallen to an average of $3.76 nationally, but the White House says they should be lower, given declines in global oil prices over the same period. Quote, can't believe I have to say this, but giving profits to shareholders is not the same as bringing prices down for American families, Biden tweeted on Friday. The reason Biden is saying this is because I think it was the CEO of Exxon Mobil came out and said, these guys are talking about maybe a windfall profits tax, but the fact of the matter is, we already do something just like that. We pay out dividends to our shareholders. Yeah, but what percentage of the American people have shares of Exxon Mobil, you fucking freak? It is nowhere near the same as a windfall profits tax. Biden has been critical of energy companies' profits since at least June, when he complained publicly that Exxon made more money than God this year. Biden's threat of a windfall Biden's threat of windfall taxes on energy companies follows calls from progressive Democrats, including Bernie Sanders and Elizabeth Warren. Last week, California Governor Gavin Newsom added his voice to the call for Congress to tax the profits of oil companies. So I thought they had the exact, I don't see the exact number, but they've done billions of dollars of stock buybacks. Stock buybacks, it's just stock manipulation. This is something that was illegal prior to Ronald Reagan. They made it legal. It's just, brazen stock manipulation. It shouldn't be allowed. And this is what they're doing. Look at this. I'll give you this quote here. This is exactly the type of leadership we've been waiting for from President Biden, said Jamie Henn, spokesperson for the group Stop the Oil Profiteering. Big Oil has made nearly $300 billion in excess profits this year by gouging us at the pump. A windfall profits tax can provide immediate relief by redirecting that money into the pockets of hardworking Americans. So there was a poll that was done. I read about this in the American Prospect. I forget who did the poll, but it was a good article in the American Prospect by David Dane on this. And the midterm message that polled the best for Democrats is, we're going to tax the wealthy, we're going to do a windfall profits tax on price gouging corporations, and we're going to redirect that money and give it to the American people by extending the child tax credit. That was the most popular message. So that both fights inflation and helps out average working Americans. So, look, the only problem with this article is that it's really too little too late, because what Biden is doing here is too little too late. I'm going to say the right thing, but I'm going to not say it aggressively and not really commit to it. And by the way, it's a week until the election. Okay, but this is the narrative you had to be building for months. Bernie Sanders called for a windfall profits tax in fucking April. You could have been saying this the entire time. And they didn't. Now, by the way, for anybody who would think, well, I don't know, Kyle, that sounds like a fucking extreme kind of policy, and that seems like some, far left nonsense. Let me explain something to you. We've done a windfall profits tax in this country multiple times. Woodrow Wilson did it. FDR did it. Jimmy Carter did it, and it continued into the Reagan administration. Now, I would argue the way they created the tax got worse and worse as time went on. Like, it got weaker and weaker. By the time you got to the third one, there were a lot of loopholes and whatnot. But you can construct a good one, right? And this is something that would directly impact the American people for the better. And it's an actual policy solution, as opposed to what the right is offering, which is just an argument by implication. Hey, we're not Democrats, so I guess vote for us, we'll fix it, even though we have zero plans to fix it, and if anything, we'll make it worse. So anyway, there you have it. Biden now saying the right thing, but it's not aggressive enough, it's too little too late, and it's not concrete enough. So make of that whatever you will. Ever since Adpocalypse, when YouTube defunded all independent news and politics overnight, we haven't trusted them. We know they can pull the rug out from underneath us at any time. If you enjoy this content, please consider tipping $1 or $2 per month on the Secular Talk Patreon. Link in the video description box below. Thanks for your support.